What is up, everyone? Welcome to the second part of my interview with Luke. I picked it off right when we go into the RISERS episode. If you haven't watched our Fallers episode yet, that came out a couple of days ago, so make sure you go check that out. I'll put it up right here somewhere so you can click it quite easily. But yeah, this is the second part of my interview with Luke. Luke, FF1 Fantasy Strategy. You can follow him on X, on YouTube, so make sure you follow him at all of his social media handles. I'm super excited for the second part of this episode. I hope you are as well. And yeah, enjoy the episode. Mr. Ollie Bearman here. Haas, crushing it. Also, like, another reason that maybe Bortoletto's star has kind of faded a little bit that I was talking about, because Bearman, Hadjar have been two of like the best in the game so far. 10.6 points per race, 1.56 points per million. That leads the entire grid. So he is crushing it. He's second amongst rookies for points per race as well. The thing that leaves a little to be desired here is the quality average, 16.4. It's very temperamental in that Haas. Like Ocon is qualifying low, and Bearman isn't all the way up there at times. The race average, 11.0. That's great. So like they're making their way through the field, but it is a little bit scary to rely on that throughout the course of a Sunday. Like I'm not sure, like when we get to Imola, Monaco, like those are coming up. Low overtake tracks are coming up. Miami should be pretty good for Haas if they qualify low and they can make their way through the field. But Imola, Monaco, especially, those could be pretty scary races for us as like Haas owning managers. But he's still a riser. He's had a phenomenal first 5 races, 8th in China, 10th in Japan, 10th in Bahrain, 13th in Saudi Arabia because of the dirty air. But that kind of like leads to my point that while he is a riser, are we a little bit worried about Bearman heading into the next 3 or 4 races here, Luke? What's your take?
Well, the safety net comes in that, within the top Patreon 500, he's 72.5% owned. So if he falls, we all fall. But you know what? I don't know. I love the resurgence of Haas. It's been a great to see them. And I'll kind of come into it a little bit in mine as well. But, they definitely sandbagged me this weekend. I think they were sandbagging on their performance right up until after qualifying, because they were part of the reason why I went off Ocon and went into the Gasly build, because they weren't projected to be doing great in qualifying or the race. And so in some ways, when you look at the quality average and if he's in the 16.4, it's actually not too bad of a position to gain, because he's not quite at the back and he's enough points away that if he gets into that top 10, well, that's like 5 to 6 points.
That's like the 10-point threshold that you'd love for a B tier. Like, yeah, 100%. He's qualifying right in the back of Q2. Like, that's fine, because it seems like Haas knows they're like the opposite from 2023 when like they qualify high and sink through the field. Now it's like they're kind of qualifying low and they're going up through, like, I mean, that's fantasy gold. So like Ollie Bearman, Esteban Ocon, Haas as the constructor, which I think we're going to get to in a little bit here, since I put the show together and looked at your notes. But yeah, like Bearman's great. I'm not trying to say that we should get rid of him. I'm a little bit worried about the qualifying average coming into like Imola and Monaco, but like that's okay. Maybe like I think Haas is kind of like they're reaping what they sowed in preseason testing, because they didn't do any quali runs in Bahrain for the preseason testing. Everyone was like, why is Haas not doing any fast laps? And it's kind of proving out to be that way through the season. Like they are not that great at qualifying. Bearman's kind of like doing it himself, I feel like, because we can see that Ocon's kind of struggling to get that car out Q1 some weekends. And then, but on Sunday, with all the data they have, they're like rising through the field. So
yeah, like you definitely have to take a dive into like where are they actually getting those points from, and when we move into certain tracks where maybe overtakes aren't as fruitful, that if that is certainly part of their makeup, then they do give us pause for thought. I would agree.
Yeah, with Monaco coming up, that's the scariest one. But I mean, if that's the first fall that Ollie Bearman has all season, we can probably swallow that. That will be okay, because he's up 1.8 million. He's one of the highest rising drivers on the grid. But my first riser is done. Luke, what is up on your side?
Well, we definitely couldn't do this video without paying homage to Oscar Piastri. I don't think this one fools anyone watching this video today, but if you're not on the Oscar Piastri train by now, you're definitely losing a lot of points on a weekly basis. So, looking at the facts, as we can see, he's got 3 wins, 3 wins in the 5 races. He's coming off back-to-back wins. He's in the fastest car on the grid. And aside from that small error that he made in Australia, which I think that's the only error that I can think that he's made this year. He's just driving with a cold-blooded consistency. I mean, that first corner incident this past week in Saudi. I mean, does it remind you of tactics that a current potential world champion has done before? So if you're gonna win,
taste of his own medicine that weekend. So yeah,
right.
it was kind of nice to, like, as just like an F1 fan, maybe away from F1 fantasy for a second here. It was just like, I feel like, I'm not trying to pile on your boy here, Hamilton, but like, Lewis has been quite passive at times, and Lando and Charles for sure is like, he's a great like head-to-head driver, like combat on the road, but like it's almost like so respectful, and Max is like, okay, mate, but like this time I'm just going to get my elbows out a little bit more, and like you're good. And it's refreshing to see Oscar just come in and be like, why should I be scared of you? Like, so that's great to see from F1, because we don't want to just see Max like passing people like we did in 2023. 2024 was great, but yeah, like those turn 1 incidents, like, I mean, they're terrifying. Like, I think I should do like a watch along and have like a heart rate monitor during the first lap of every Grand Prix, because it would make for some great viewing, especially when a certain French driver in a French car gets spun around by Yuki Tsunoda. I yelped on Sunday afternoon. I was like, oh no! Like, it was bad. My wife thought something was actually wrong. I was like, no, it's just my fantasy team. It's fine. But yeah. So anyway, back to Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, he's exactly that. Like, he's driving with his elbows up. He's clean and he's clinical, and he still costs 6.6 million less than Lando. Like, you can afford
he is the best bang for your buck option in F1 fantasy.
Right.
Maybe outside of Ollie Bearman, but I still think I would put Piastri up there because of his point scoring ability.
Yeah. You can afford a whole Fernando Alonso.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And he's driving with his elbow up. So I actually have a side bet with a friend in my casual league on Oscar to win he took Oscar to win the championship this year, and he's given me the entire field. So he's very confident that Oscar's going to win this year.
Wow. That's not bad at all. But yeah, as you can see here, he's second in points per race, second in points per million. He has the highest quality average. The race average is up there. The price change was actually kind of surprising, but I forgot that, like, he obviously fell in Australia, and then I think it was in Japan he maybe only rose 0.1 million. So yeah, he hasn't had the climb right now. I mean, being an A tier asset, he can't really go up all that much. But yeah, outside of Australia, he has been the best F1 fantasy asset on the grid. He's actually trailing Lando by quite a significant margin in the points per race. And Lando hasn't done anything wrong per se, but maybe if he was a little bit more ruthless or less error prone, like, he could be leading the field quite a lot and coming into our thoughts. But for me right now, if you just look at Piastri versus Norris, like, it's no contest in F1 fantasy purposes. Cause like, yeah, like you were saying, like, you can fit a whole Fernando Alonso or a Pierre Gasly if you get that and just raise the entire floor of your squad with Oscar Piastri. So that is a great first riser there. I'll go to my second riser here. George Russell, kind of getting it done. I've been calling him the mop, because if there's something to clean up on the grid, he's got it. He's got it. It's like podiums left, right, like whatever. Saudi was probably his least impressive race of the season. Just that was the first time where Mercedes had a little bit of a wobble, and that is a reason why Ferrari has come into my thinking for Miami, because I mean, Ferrari is starting to look a lot better, especially in Leclerc's hands. Hopefully Hamilton will take this little break from the triple header, maybe go back to the drawing board, like he was saying, get that brain transplant or whatever he was talking
Yeah.
about after qualifying. But as you can see here, Russell, 25 points per race, that's fourth, 1.17 points per million, that's sixth. He's finished in the top 6 of F1 fantasy scores every race, which is pretty good consistency. Quality average is up there, race average is up there. He's even rising in price, 1.1 million. And as you can see here, third in Australia, third in China, second in Bahrain, followed by sandwiched by a fifth in Japan and Saudi Arabia. Russell has been super impressive this season, stepping into that team leadership role in Mercedes. Like, he has really put himself on the map for me as like a future world champion. Like beforehand, I was like, I don't know, like we'll see how it goes. But like these first 5 races as like head of Mercedes have been very impressive. Now, will he still be a Mercedes driver after this season? I do not know. I saw the latest rumor yesterday that was that he was talking to Christian Horner about a possible Red Bull seat. I don't really know how that's going to go down. But for right now and for 2025, Russell has been super impressive. I've seen a lot of teams with him and Piastri as like their 2 premium assets, with McLaren and then a B tier constructor in that spot. For you, where does Russell rank? Are you, once you get to like a Piastri Russell with 2 A tier constructors, are you going to be a happy chappy for the rest of the season? I feel like that would be the optimal build for most of the rest of the year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I mean, he's certainly winning the race right now in terms of, okay, if you're looking to build into a 2 A tier driver build with your 2 A tier constructors, ignoring the fact that obviously the most premium one you'd probably want is a Lando and Oscar, but until we get huge budget gains, that's not on the cards at the moment. So if you're going to have Oscar as your 2X DRS, then who is the next A tier driver? And we call A tiers, like obviously Hamilton's in that and Antonelli's in that, but they're not really sort of your most elite A tier drivers. So I think Max's value is still quite up there too. So for me, it's you're looking at George and Charles as like, who is going to be that second A tier driver. Neither of them I'm going to feel confident as being someone that I'm going to want to put my ×2 on right now. But certainly George, he is just elite consistency. Is exactly what you want in your second A tier driver spot. Qualified on the front row twice, finishing in the top 5, as you say. The only thing we're not seeing is the upside bonuses of fastest laps, or do we even think about, is he ever going to get a chance of driver of the day? So he needs to do something almost miraculous to be able to be even in the running for that. So but yeah, he is. I certainly agree with what you say. He's lucky. I think he stepped into this leadership role in Mercedes like quite seamlessly. Like it doesn't seem like it's been a huge burden on his shoulders. I mean, could you even say like he was outperforming Lewis so much last year? That was he really the team leader last year too? And it's just this year he's just kind of continued doing what he's doing. But he looks really comfortable as being that number 1 driver of a team. And I agree. It's I'm sure there's talk around the paddock, and every team principal is looking at George and thinking, if we get the car, can we get him to come over for us?
Yeah, I agree. Especially the team leader role that you were just talking about. Last year when it was him and Lewis still at Mercedes, like there were times on like the team radio or like in interviews and stuff, it's like, man, you are so thirsty for Lewis to get out of here. Like he wants that team leadership role so bad, but he talked the talk and he's actually walking the walk right now. Like he's doing a great job. I can't deny it. Driver of the day. Yeah. He might be like in the bottom 5 drivers for driver of the day possibilities. And the fastest lap possibility, like he's almost doing too well that like he's always pitting and trying to like cover off people and get like into dirty air. So like he doesn't have a bad qualifying. So like it's not like Lando where it's like, oh, alternate strategy goes on the mediums towards the end of the race, like fastest lap, like bank it. Like before the race, we could even tell that like, oh, it's probably going to be Lando with the fastest lap today. And the Mercedes maybe doesn't have like the race winning upside yet. as we get into the European season, where we could maybe get some inclement weather, where it could be like randomly a very cold weekend in Silverstone or in Montreal or something like that, it could be like Russell's day for fastest lap, driver of the day, wins the whole thing, if that Mercedes is still capable of coming alive in the cooler temperatures. It was interesting to hear Max say that when it got cooler in Saudi Arabia, that's when the Red Bull came alive. So we'll have to kind of maybe watch out for that as well. But Russell has been fantastic this season. Maybe towards the end of the year, like he could be a good autopilot guy. Like once we get to like a race where it's like, oh, Mercedes is looking pretty good, and you got Piastri and Russell in your lineup, maybe in Vegas where he won last year, like that could be a great chance to play autopilot. And just like George does well here. He talked about it before the race in 2024, the Vegas race, that like Vegas is one of his favorite tracks, and he backed that up with a race win. It's probably something that we need to remember for the 2025 edition. Your second riser here, sir. We're going back to the States. Haas.
We are.
Tell us about it.
We have a lot of Haas fans in my casual league. We have, I think, at least two team names that are devoted to Gunther Steiner and his famous quote of always having to call Gene. So I don't know how many calls to Gene are happening right now with Haas's performances, because they are just crushing it both on the track and in F1 fantasy. So IL's leadership is certainly thriving out there. But let's talk numbers. From a fantasy perspective, they've been the budget builder's dream. They are currently
for two seasons now, really. Like it's not even just that, like it was last season too.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only B tier constructor this year, averaging over there, like I said, like they got the 3.05 at points per million, so they are hitting that over their 1.2, which they need for budget gains each and every race. And I don't know, like I don't even know if it's a fluke anymore. I think we just have to accept that they have been consistent in this part of the season. So week in, week out, you're just locking in that sweet budget gain. And every once in a while, they are rewarding you with some big weeks when they jump into the points, as we've seen in China and in Bahrain. So they are rewarding you on the point side as well. And especially if you're pairing them up with a Russell who is consistent, they are a genuine a strategy that is covering off the two A-tier constructor builds right now. So if you've stuck with them, they've certainly rewarded you. And for those that have resisted jumping into the double A-tier temptation, and you've kept Haas through Saudi, this team, you're in a fantastic spot heading into Miami, and Limitless Chip is staring you right in the face, and you are ready to go ahead and play that. So it kind of justifies a little bit, like when we're umming and ahhing, do we or don't we play Limitless last week? It's very much now to be. It's a dead cert that you should play Limitless for a build of Piastri, Russell, and Haas going into Miami. So I think that kind of like speaks to some of that about like we're always kind of looking for any little edge that can kind of give us more information around strategy. And so sometimes luck doesn't go our way, but I think sort of staying true to sort of some of the strategy pieces is definitely sort of strengthened in this case. But what do you think? I know we kind of talked about it a little bit with Oliver Bearman, but are they going to be a set and hold for a long time? Like, when are they legitimately going to be a long-term hold, or are we still going to get moving into a double A-tier constructor as soon as possible?
I think we'll still be trying to get into the A-tier constructor build, but I think until most of the field plays their Limitless chip here, it's a totally viable strategy. Like as we see here, 24.6 points per race, that's fifth on the grid, 3.05 points per million, like you were talking about. That leads all constructors. The only thing I would be worrying about is, like you were saying, we talked about it with Ollie Bearman, like the quality teamwork points, 1.4 points per race. That's pretty low compared to the rest of the grid. The pit stop points, 1.8 points per million. That's the second lowest on the grid. But there are weekends where they will just pop up with around like 2 of the first 5 weekends. They've put in a 40 burger. like over here. And they had 2 40-point weekends so far this season. They had one of those in 2024. So it's like that was the thing about when a lot of teams went to the meta build in Bahrain, the template build. It was kind of like, okay, like Mercedes and McLaren, they crushed it. It was the right
Hmm.
play to go to the template. But for Haas managers that stuck with the B tier build, like you were talking about, like they got nearly as many points as Mercedes. Like they had a great weekend. They kind of spoiled the template party a little bit with their 40 points in Bahrain. And that's going to boost them. They need negative 16 points to get a max price rise in Miami. So, like you were saying, if you have Haas in your squad right now, you're set up with all budget risers. Like Limitless is a great play in Miami. It's 3-point scoring sessions. The delta over the rest of the field may not be as optimal as other tracks like Saudi or Italy coming up in Imola or Monaco or something like that. But it's kind of like if you wait another week in Miami, like you could have like if Haas do have a double DNF, like that's just out the window. Like, and I mean that would suck if you have them on Limitless as well for your budget building, but negative 16, like that's such a good price point. Like Ferrari needs negative 37. Haas needs negative 16. Like they're right there with some of the A tier constructors with just how safe they are. And I think we touched on it earlier, their preseason testing, just getting long runs done, getting the pit wall all set up, like operationally on race day, they are pretty sound. The pit stop points, that's pretty low. It's not going to be like a bonus getting team like a Ferrari or something like that, but it is a lower team down on the grid. But as of right now, like Io Komatsu has that team set up. They got like their rising star in Ollie Bearman. They've got their kind of safety driver in Esteban Ocon. Like it's a great team. And it's also a team that I think they will not have aspirations of winning a world championship one day. You know what I mean? And this is a team that potentially sees fifth is up for grabs. And that's a lot of money for a team like Haas in the Constructors Championship. And they could keep developing through 2025. They'll look ahead to 2026, but this could be a great opportunity for them to finish fifth, grab a bunch of money. They've got Toyota coming in. Like they're building the foundations for kind of like a stronger team over the next few years. And with the way that Komatsu has this team set up, like the 2026 regs coming along, it may not be like all doom and gloom for Haas. Like they can have a good 2025. They can be set up for 2026. They got TPC testing in their thing now. They're going to get simulators from Toyota, I believe, as well. So it's all looking great
vibes
for Haas.
A lot of good vibes.
Yeah, the vibes are great for the American team. So I would not be upset at all. I think maybe once we get into, I'm looking at the calendar here, maybe once we get past Spain and we see like what this new technical directive is going to do to a lot of teams, the talk I've heard is that that's mostly going to deal with teams at the top that have been doing this flexi wing stuff. But it'll just be interesting to see how it shakes up the grid for the rest of the time. Maybe that will tell us more about this set and forget question that you had for the remainder of the season. But for the next 3 or 4 races, like I think F1 fantasy managers should be very confident in holding Haas.
Yeah.
Will you be one of those managers, Luke?
Well, I will be certainly looking at them. I think you're like for them to kind of drop these 40 burgers. It's almost like it needs to either be them or Williams as to being the ones that are going to grab 2 of those top 10 spots. So that is something that might flip and flop through the season as it might be. So there is some risk associated with like the single A tier constructor, because you're almost trying to then maybe potentially guess which of Haas and Williams has the opportunity or the best looking opportunity to jump in those top 10s that really sort of make it really like this is a really strong pick. So yeah, I would like to still think that we're going to get the 2 premium constructor build is still going to be the meta build, because you can just guarantee a lot more points in that situation.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we maybe need to watch with Haas, we're talking about them quite a bit, but it's worth talking about because like they've had the sprint in China to boost them up. They've had the random 40 points at Bahrain. They've got on another sprint in Miami coming up, but from Miami sprint, the next sprint weekend is Spa, which is like the 13th or 14th race, I think, on the calendar.
Yeah.
like that's a long time for single race weekends. And if they don't like produce another like random 30, 40 point weekend, like eventually they will be so expensive that it will take a little bit of point scoring on, like they'll need more points obviously to keep rising. So
Yeah.
maybe it gets a little dicey in a few races time, like maybe Spain, Canada, like Austria area of the calendar. But yeah, for the
Yeah.
next 3 or 4 races, I wouldn't really be worried all that much about Haas. But look, your next riser, or no, this is me again. Sorry,
It's for you.
I'm having a good time. But yes, Isack Hadjar here. He's my final riser. Second highest quality average outside of the top 4 teams, which is phenomenal. Once we talked about this with Bortoleto earlier in the fallers, like he's kind of stolen his shine off the F1 grid. He was the runner up in F2 last year. 0.6 points per million, that's 10th. Quality average is right around the Q3, Q2 mark. He has fallen in price this season, but he's been on the rise the last 2 weeks. As you can see here, 8th in Japan, 13th Bahrain, 10th in Saudi Arabia. Without Williams doing a little bit of teamwork there at the end of the Saudi Arabia race, like he could have been looking at a 9th or an 8th place finish. I love the guy. He's getting a little
Yeah.
bit more like into his zone. He's like the book on him was like he was very temperamental on the radio, but whenever I hear him on team radio, which is like cherry picked by the broadcast, obviously, like he sounds demanding, but in a constructive way. And I think that's super helpful for a team like Red Bull. Whereas um like Alex Albon, he's kind of been like a little bit whiny, but I'm not entirely sure if that's just because like we always think of Alex Albon as like backwards cap wearing, like has a bunch of pets, fun loving guy, and like this new side of Alex Albon is like, wait, what happened to the lovable back
Yeah.
marker? Like, but he knows that there's a chance right now for Williams to have a special season, like finish in the top 5 of that, and like potentially going forward with the rumors on the grid that like Mercedes have cracked the code on the 2026 engine and stuff. Williams are going to have a Mercedes engine. Like he's probably feeling the pressure a little bit from Carlos Sainz. But back to Hadjar here, like he's been super impressive. I think he's the lead driver in that team, even though Liam Lawson will probably think he's the lead driver. Like I'm backing Hadjar to have a pretty good season. And I don't want to say he's the new Yuki Tsunoda of Racing Bulls, but I don't know if he'll be able to move up into the Red Bull seat immediately. Maybe give him a couple seasons, but you got like Arvid Lindblad in the background. You've always got Christian Horner trying to like George Russell rumors coming out. But Hadjar, has he been one of, if not the most impressive stars on the grid this season?
Yeah, I would say so, definitely, and not just from a rookie perspective. Like I think he is, he's definitely showing that he belongs in the sport. He is, like I said, like that. If he's consistently getting into that, Q2 and occasionally dipping into Q1, it's really showing us that he has like just raw, natural, speed, and I think that's a great quality, great quality to have. And in the race, yeah, like I've seen him, he's made some pretty spicy overtakes in his short time, and interestingly enough, when you're talking about like that strategy that you were, that was one thing that I heard Albon talking about the race, and that they actually had prepared for that scenario in their brief on the day before with James Vowles, and they were actually considering a situation, but it wasn't Isack Hadjar that they thought was going to be behind them. It was actually our favorite Pierre Gasly, and they were really thinking that Pierre would have had the speed to take each of them on merit. So that strategy was born out of a protection mechanism, thinking it was Pierre Gasly. Turned out to be Isack Hadjar. So that kind of gives us a bit of at least some positives towards a Hadjar to say, well, if he was doing what they thought Pierre Gasly was going to do in an Alpine, then this is showing us the quality that Isack Hadjar has, and showing us the ceiling of potential that he could have. And I'm super excited to see how his season pans out. I mean, VCarb itself as a constructor, with their performances, they are looking also as an other option or a differentiator for a B tier budget builder if you're looking for that. And again, it's because Isack Hadjar has been putting that team on their back.
Yeah, he's been super impressive. I'm just looking at Racing Bulls right now. They need -4 points in Miami to score a max price, right? So not the -16 huge safety net of Haas, but -4, more than doable. I think Lawson is also growing into that team as he seems to like Saudi Arabia was his best race. He had that 10-second time penalty, whatever. But he seems to be kind of getting back into the flow of being in the Racing Bulls garage and stuff like that. The pressure's off, like it's okay, like whatever.
Definitely hearing that from some of their mechanics around in the garage. They're kind of saying like, yeah, he wasn't the same Liam when he first came back, but now starting to find his feet again.
That's good. That's good to hear. That is very good to hear. But your final riser is another kind of game theory, game strategy thing. So why don't you talk us through that again, Luke?
So I had a huge bit of excitement early on in the season, and I didn't even know that this was coming. But certainly not a driver, not a constructor, but one of my favorite stock rises for this year has been the addition of live scoring in the F1 Fantasy app. And for me, fantasy is a game of engagement. And I'm coming at this from someone who plays NFL fantasy. And if you know, like Sundays during an NFL season, it is all the right amount of chaos in the best way.
You better have a power bank for NFL Sundays because your phone is going to be blowing up from friends, notifications, you better have a charger nearby because you're not going to make it through.
Yes, and the swings that you can have on that day-to-day basis, and just to paint a picture, you've got your fantasy app open, you've got your group chats open, you're watching the games on the TV, your phone is lighting up, touchdowns, interceptions, sacks, you name it, and it's fun, it's social, it's addictive. So when F1 Fantasy finally added live scoring into the app, it just was a game changer for some of me and my casual friends out here. So it was just nice to just kind of at least just go into the app and just be able to see, okay, where am I currently sitting? Not just in my team, but you can see the league updating a little bit, and again, the group chats start popping off. So as much as I know F1 scoring has some validation that kind of needs to happen on the back end, certainly when it comes to pit stops, some of those overtakes, making sure they're true overtakes and not just sort of passing slow cars and things like that. But it's still the provisional side of things still adds that element of engagement. And rather than some of those race weeks where you're just staring at a blank screen, waiting till Monday morning, what did my team do? You can already see the difference, right? Like people are a little bit more locked in this year. It keeps the banter alive, and it just makes every on-track moment just feel so much more relevant, so much more present. It's forming these connection points with your friends, your family, your colleagues, your community. And I just think that's really the start of something bigger in the app. So just imagine a situation, right? Like even if you weren't watching the race and you've got your phone in your pocket and you're at a family event, all of a sudden it's just buzzing. You're like, okay, did I get an overtake? Was there a safety car? Think about the fastest pit stop leaderboard happening live on your phone in those pit windows. You're like, Mercedes have it, McLaren has it, Ferrari has it. Like, it's just going to be absolute chaos. And I just think that kind of like second screen experience is just an absolute hook for a lot of new fans into the sport, and especially if fantasy is sort of some of that stepping stone into the sport. Then I think F1 Fantasy could learn a lot by leaning into that.
Yeah, I once again 100% agree. Like I'm a NFL fanatic. I play FPL a lot, and goal goes in FPL. I'm on livefpl.net. I'm typing in my team ID. I'm checking, okay, how much was that goal worth? Where am I at in the world now? Did it get me into the top 10K, top 100K, that kind of thing? And if F1 Fantasy could offer something like that, that would be phenomenal. I think it doesn't have to be a lot either. Like if they just want to be like, we're not dealing with lap one, that is too much chaos. Like we're going to whatever. But if we see Pierre Gasly overtake Hadjar on track, on screen, like he's not diving into the pit lane or whatever, you got, like you're saying, you got your phone, F1 app that says F1 Fantasy, Pierre Gasly overtake on Isack Hadjar, and ping. And it wouldn't even have to be plus 1 point to your team or something like that, but just something that you're saying the second screen thing is like such a big deal. Like Sunday evenings over here in Germany, I'm watching Red Zone when the Texans aren't playing. Obviously, got to get that out there. And I'm watching Red Zone, and like my phone is in my hand because I'm either texting my fantasy football group chat with some smack talk, or I'm looking at my way too many leagues that we won't talk about on here. But it's just like I'm always like, okay, what are we doing? And if F1 Fantasy could add something like that to in the app, or I mean, I don't know if there's ever a possibility where they could make like a standalone app for the game, maybe make it a little bit not just one tab on the corner there. F1fantasytools.com do a great job of this with their live scoring. So I would push everyone over there if you need like a little bit more, like with the overtakes, the pit stops and stuff. And yeah, you can use promo code UN50 for 50% off your first month. I'll just do a shameless plug right there, as it seems kind of seamless. But the live scoring, it's already been a huge development from last year, where I can't remember what race it was. There was a race where I think we were waiting like 48 hours for the live scores to finalize. It's like, what are we doing here? So
seems so archaic.
Yeah, it's brutal, and it's still a little bit behind most of the sports, but it's compared to most fantasy sports, it's fairly new in the fantasy landscape. So I'm willing to see it grow and build, and the live scoring, even the provisional points, is a step in the right direction. I would even they could even give us our best guess. The fact is, like, they say provisional points. So like throw in the pit stops in there, throw in the overtakes, and until it says finalized, people will understand that it's not final. It's okay. Because there are times where it's like, okay, like we think Alonso overtook him there, but it was actually the guy went into the pits or something like that. Like, we are more than capable of understanding that points change. Provisional points don't, like in FPL now, they have bonus points that change 48 hours after the game is over, like until the game week is locked and stuff. So I think live scoring, it's a great addition to the game. They can do more with it. I think the second screen thing is awesome. I really like that idea. Like, you're watching the race, like the ideal scenario would be one day, like you can hook up your F1 fantasy team into your F1TV.com thing, and it's got your team on the side and it's flipping up and down with all the overtakes and
this
stuff.
is what we want.
So that would be fantastic. Like, that's a great idea. And that's your final riser, right, Luke? That's it. We've emptied the bag. It's been so much fun. I'm so glad that we got you on. But just let people know one last time where they can see you, watch you, follow you on X and stuff like that.
You bet. On X, you can reach me at LukeFF1 Fantasy, and at YouTube at LF1 Fantasy Strategy. So yeah, I don't have a video coming out this week, but yeah, I'm going to start again from next week, probably looking at a Miami team selection. Probably look at doing some sort of form of buy, hold, and sell video as well. And so yeah, look forward to kind of getting that stuff out there for the viewers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching. I'll make sure to link your channel in the description below. Everyone should go like Luke's videos and follow him, as he is a rising content creator in the F1 community. So I would highly suggest everyone goes there. A little bit of a long episode, but it's been fantastic. It's been a great discussion in F1 Fantasy. It's been great to kill some time as we take a little bit of a break from like full-on team selection. But I'm looking forward to your buy, sell, hold videos. And yeah, any lineup thoughts? Have you already thought about your lineup? Like, any moves you're thinking to make?
Yeah, if I stick with my two moves, it's certainly Gasly and Mercedes are my two sort of like targets to get out of the team. So
I like it. I won't make you spoil your whole team selection video, obviously, here. So people will have to go watch that. But it's been great having you on, Luke. Thank you for coming on. We'll get you back on eventually. I mean, there are some more breaks, but we got like Miami, and then it's another triple header right off the bat. So the content will be coming out thick and fast. But make sure you guys follow Luke on X. Go like his YouTube channel. And yeah, you can do the same here. Like this video, leave comments for us. We'll respond to them. Subscribe to the channel. The push to 3,000 subs is well and truly on here. And yeah, it's been great talking to you, Luke. So thank you for coming on, and thanks for you guys for watching. So once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.